Hi, everybody. Thank you for showing up to the video call. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to show up because I changed the time, but thank you. I think what I want to do is, first of all, I'm going to tell you really quickly just about myself, not really myself, why I use Pinterest for my business. And then really quickly, no pressure on anyone, but if some of you want to just tell me, why you joined this call, maybe you've never used Pinterest for your business or your cause or whatever you're trying to do with it. I kind of just want to know why you're here. That way, when I'm talking, I can kind of understand, because if all of you have business accounts already, I don't need to kind of go over that stuff. But if some of you have business accounts and some of you don't, I don't want to go over anyone's head. I just don't want to make assumptions while I'm going through everything. So I'll kind of go through what I do with this awesome platform first. So my name's Kirsten Greca, and I own an e-commerce brand. It's called Rosa Gold. It is monogrammed, personalized accessories, apparel. Some of my the biggest market for me during this time of year are brides, high-end wedding planners. So for me, Pinterest is a really good platform because a lot of people use it when planning their weddings. But it doesn't mean that if you're not in the wedding business, you can't use it. You totally can. Everyone can use it. And I have a lot of examples in my little PowerPoint that shows you people that are maybe coaches or marketers or yoga teachers. Anyone can use it. It works for everybody. So anyway, the reason why I'm doing this call is because within the last couple months, I've really just boosted my Pinterest traffic to my website because I got really strategic about the way that I used it, and I implemented a bunch of stuff that really has helped me. Pinterest was always one of my highest performing traffic generators to my website through natural organic traffic. People were landing on my site all the time through Pinterest, or finding a pin and clicking on the pin and going to the page. But even though I was pinning stuff on Pinterest from my website, I didn't have a strategy, and I did it when I had time, or was a little bored. I wasn't consistent, and I didn't have some of these things in place. I didn't optimize my Pinterest home page to be searchable. Even though it was an awesome way for me to get traffic, this new year, I really wanted to figure out how to even 3 times, 4 times what I was getting just by putting in a little bit of effort. So what I did was, a couple months ago, I went on vacation, and instead of reading a really nice book or novel, I just downloaded a ton of articles about Pinterest, the new algorithm, all the changes, how to really work with it to kind of as somebody that's pinning on a regular basis, getting all that traffic, and eventually putting things into place where you're not really doing too much work, but you're getting a lot of traffic. So also at the end, I'll give you my email address, and you guys can all email me, and I have a resource sheet for you with everything I'm going to mention and a bunch of the articles that I read a couple months ago that really helped me figure things out. And so a lot of that stuff I got from those articles. Okay, so to start, I hope that makes sense, and I know I'm rambling, but what I would love to do is, for some of you, if you feel comfortable, just kind of telling me why you joined this call, and if you're using Pinterest already for your whether it's a business or whatever you're trying to do. Maybe you're a coach trying to get traffic to your website. I would just love to know kind of where you're at with using Pinterest. So I don't know if anybody wants to go first, but I would love to hear if anyone wants to volunteer.
I can go first. Okay. So we use Pinterest. We will be using it. Right now we're using it mostly just to have an extension of our brand. We haven't launched our company yet, but eventually we will be driving traffic to an e-commerce website to drive sales. So it's a combination of driving sales, increasing brand awareness, and creating a community.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Okay, so I can go next. Hi, everybody. I'm Kirsten. Thank you so much for having this. So I'm here because I don't actually use Pinterest. I'm in marketing and I'm an entrepreneur. So I have different brands that I'm working on. And then I'm also a coach and a yoga teacher as well. So I do a bunch of different things. And when this came up in the Dreamers and Doers feed, I thought it could be really great for me to learn more about. My experience with Pinterest, I've always just seen it as something that like middle-aged suburban people use. So I'm really interested to hear about like the other sides of what that could potentially mean for business and stuff like that.
Awesome. Is there anybody else that wants to share anything? If not, it's all good. I don't want to force anyone to kind of speak up. All right, cool. So
this is,
oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry. This is Sam. Very similar to Kristen. I manage Facebook and Google AdWords for a couple of different brands and have never done Pinterest before. I typically do paid acquisition, so really direct response. And I'd always seen Pinterest as sort of a brand building, general awareness, but I know that their ads have gotten more and more popular in the last couple of years, and was just excited to learn more about it, especially since you had success getting some new customers through it.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely has it's cheap ads for sure, and I think that they can be really powerful if they're like done correctly. So yeah, that's awesome. Anybody else before we kind of start? All right, so what I'm gonna do, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back and forth. So I have like a PowerPoint kind of thing just to kind of keep everything organized. I'm also gonna jump on Pinterest and show you stuff in like real time. And I'll come back to the video so that, well, I don't know. I guess it's just so that you don't have to stare at the PowerPoint, which is just white and pink and yeah. So anyway, oh, I did want to tell you that I know that there's this notion that Pinterest is like, oh, it's for like women who are, you know, like middle-aged and they want to find, you know, recipes. And I actually did my dissertation, my master's dissertation on Pinterest back in 2012 when it first came out. And I studied people that were using it. And at the time, it definitely was, you know, ages 25 to 35, white, middle-class women in a certain part of the United States, but now it's totally different. And like 40% of new Pinterest signups are men. So there's like, everyone's on Pinterest looking at all different things. It's not just recipes and DIY anymore. It came out towards the end of the recession, and it was and so as we all know, like DIY really there was a resurgence of DIY during that time, and so it helped boost the platform, but now it's everything. So I really think for all of you, there's a lot of potential, and I want to share it with you because it's like I feel like I cracked a code a little bit. Not that it's this like crazy thing that's happening, but I've just seen such a big boost in a small amount of work that I've done on it. So, all right, let's get started. So I am going to share my screen with you. All right. So if anyone sees any mistakes going on at any time, like you don't see my shared screen, just let me know. So, okay, let's start at the beginning. All right, so is it working? Can you guys see my PowerPoint or no?
Yes.
You can. Okay, so so I don't know if it's the whole screen or if it's just like in the PowerPoint platform, but we'll just go like this because I think you can see everything. All right, so let's start off with the most important thing and the thing that I want to kind of like would love for you to change your thinking. A lot of people think Pinterest is a social network. And yes, you can have followers and people can follow you, and that stuff is important. At this point, I don't think follower number on Pinterest is that important. And I'll get into that in a second. But Pinterest really is a search engine. It is a visual search engine. So we are going on there to type something in and get a visual response. So obviously, if we go on and we type in avocado toast, we're getting a visual display to show us all of our different options of answers to that kind of query that we're putting in there. So I would love for you to start thinking of it as a search engine. And because it's a search engine, everything on there needs to be searchable. So that's what we're going to go into in a little while. But going back to changing the idea that followers equal success on Pinterest, in like the fall of 2017, Pinterest changed its algorithm. So it used to be that if you and I followed each other on Pinterest, if I pinned an avocado toast recipe, it would show up in your feed. And it would say, Kirsten, pin this, and it would show you the image. That is not the case anymore. So only a third of what you see in your Pinterest feed is what people you follow have pinned. So that's a big difference. So it went from 100% pretty much of what you saw was what people you followed pinned. Now it's down to 1/3. That is not great for people that are trying to get traffic to their site, because every time I pin something, not as many people see it as they used to. So the smart feed is their new way to do the feed. So it's the 30% of pins that people that follow each other are actually seeing, and the other 70% are a mix of ads, and it's a mix of what Pinterest is predicting that you want to see. So based on what you've already pinned or searched, it's like showing you that stuff. So it's a little different. So that's why we can't rely on follower numbers anymore. It's still good for, I guess, vanity purposes to have a higher follower number, and you can still, do things like follow a bunch of people, or let's say that you're opening up a wedding dress company, you can follow the followers of another wedding dress company. That was an old tactic to get followers, but I don't see it as important anymore to kind of go after that thing. That's just my opinion. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're trying to sell something or, sell service, Pinterest, people that are going to Pinterest, they're ready to buy. And it's like proven that Pinterest is the platform where people kind of spend the most money. When they find something on Pinterest, they're buying it more often than when they're finding stuff on other platforms. And most businesses don't use Pinterest correctly. They pin, they have an account, but they're not using it strategically, which is kind of what I was doing. So we're going to go over today to kind of change that up a little bit. All right. So you can have 2 different accounts on Pinterest. You can have a business account or a personal account. If you have a personal account right now, like let's say maybe you're a coach or a branding expert, you might just have a personal account, and you can actually just transition it to a business account, and there are benefits. In the resource guide, I'll include a YouTube video of a girl showing you how to transition your account to business if you want to do that. So if you have a business account, you have some extras. You have access to really good analytics, so you can see what's going on, what's getting pinned and repinned, and things like that. So if you're running a business, like analytics, as we all know, are very important. So it's great to be able to look at that stuff. You also have, you can run ads. So I know that, Sam, you mentioned that you're interested in learning a little bit about ads. That is something the business account allows you to do. Ads are cheap on there right now, still pretty cheap. And yeah, it's really easy. Basically you can just take something you pinned and turn it into an ad. So it looks really organic in the feed. And the only way you would know it's an ad is it just says promoted really small underneath there. So if you go onto your Pinterest account and kind of just look, you'll see the ads, but they're really native to the platform. So they don't, it's almost like pins that are ads, they just don't appear as ads, which is, I think, really awesome. Business pages, it just strengthens your overall SEO for your website because Pinterest will verify your website if you have a business account, so it links it kind of. It also, Pinterest is a huge platform, so if you have a home base on Pinterest, it's always good for your business's SEO. I'm saying business, but I don't want to just assume everybody has a business. Maybe you have an organization or, you're a teacher of some sort, but I'm just going to use business as an example, as kind of the terminology for today. And the last thing that is really great about a business account is it allows you to use what they call rich pins. So if you look at this picture, this is an example of one of my rich pins. And so it's something that there needs to be an integration between your platform, your website, and Pinterest. But what it does is Pinterest, instead of just showing whatever information is on the pin, Pinterest goes to the the origin point of that pin. So the origin point of this particular pin is a page on my website where this item lives, and it pulls all that information. So as you can see, it pulled the price, it pulled the name of the item, and in that description, that's the description from the website. That's not what I put into the pin. So rich pins just make your pins more searchable, and just give more information to the Pinterest platform and become more findable. Okay, so I hope that is that's all making sense. The next thing I kind of want to go to is optimizing your profile. So once you have a profile set up, you need to make it extremely optimized. This is really easy to do. It will take you an hour. So I actually want to, okay, this is what the homepage of my profile looks like. So I used to just have Rosa Gold as the title up here. And then in the description, I had basically the description that would be on my website. It was a little bit more like tongue-in-cheek. It was a little bit more fun. But what I realized was that this text wasn't great for SEO. And people aren't really on Pinterest. I don't think they're going to your profile too often to check it out, but you still want it to be searchable. So what I did was I put my name, one of these slash bars, and then a very, searchable keywords here that would help people find me. So if they're looking for monogrammed scarf, this might help me because, you know what I mean? The word monogram is there. And same thing with here. I don't love the way it looks, to be totally honest. I don't like when there's like just a bunch of keywords crammed in, but I think it is important to really just, in a very simple way, state exactly what it is that you are, what you do, your service, or whatever it is. And what I also did notice is women or anyone that's on Pinterest that's a coach or a branding expert or something of that sort, they'll have their first name. So we'll say Kirsten Greca, they'll have this bar, and then they'll have branding expert or yoga instructor New York City or something like that. So whatever comes after their first name, they put that divider, and then they have the description of what they do. And the best way to just kind of look for inspiration is if you do something, go on Pinterest, type in that term, and look at other people's profiles, and you'll see that a lot of people have adapted this way of doing it. It's all about SEO. So that's one way to optimize your profile, is just get all your ducks in a row when it comes to keywords and things you want to be found for in your profile area. The next way to optimize your profile is you got to make everything look good. And you want everything on your profile to be SEO friendly. That includes your boards. So all boards have a title, they all have a description. So spend an hour one day going through all of your boards, giving them really good, relevant titles, and giving them a really clear and concise description. And that's all information that will kind of get saved in, so it will help you become findable. This is also, I forgot to mention, I think Pinterest was overwhelmed with like spammy stuff for a while, and that's another reason for the smart feed. They reward quality content, so really clear pictures, things that are labeled properly, and really good keywords. So they're really, I was reading a lot about how they, are trying to crack down on those spammy, we've all been on Pinterest and saw a really pretty dress or something, and we clicked on it to go to the website, and it was like a fake spammy website. So I think this was one way they tried to crack down on that. So make sure all of your boards are cleaned up and described well and have really good titles. There's a mixed kind of opinion about this. I did it. You can do what you want, but I went into all my boards, and any of my pins from my business that were no repins or that just didn't like look great, they were kind of old. I mean, I've had my business now for 3 years. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes to go back and look at the stuff that I, put that was pinned up there from 3 years ago. So I cleaned stuff out, I deleted stuff. I kind of made my boards more quality over quantity. That's up to you. Some of the articles that I will be in that resource sheet will tell you to clean up your stuff, clean up your boards. Some say, you never know. There is the concept of pins on Pinterest going viral a year after you pin them. It's happened to me. It's really weird. All of a sudden, you'll start getting a ton of repins on something you pinned on there a year and a half ago. It's a weird phenomenon. So that's the only thing about deleting those old pins, is you never really know. And then I would also suggest clearing out really irrelevant stuff. So I go on Pinterest for my personal life, and I go on Pinterest for my business. Things in my personal life, maybe decor inspiration or some travel. There's really good travel inspiration on there, or recipes, fashion, whatever it is. What I did was anything from my personal life that I was pinning, I started to make secret boards for that. Secret boards are a way to pin stuff on a board, and no one else can see those boards. So for my business, I try to keep it very relevant. Everything that I'm pinning, I try to keep it very relevant. I have a couple boards that are food and stuff, but not a lot. Most of it is very relevant to my business. So I cleared out some irrelevant boards and I made them secret so that they didn't show up on my profile. I just kind of think it's really good to keep it all streamlined for your business if you can. But instead of switching back and forth from my personal Pinterest account to this one, I'm just always logged into this one. So I made those boards secret, so that it wasn't I wasn't overpinning all this random stuff that didn't kind of align with my business, if that makes any sense. God, I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I'm kind of just rambling, but I have a lot to say and I know there's not a lot of time. Okay, so another thing I totally want to suggest to you is, let's say, Carlene, I don't know, I didn't ask you what kind of e-commerce business you were starting, but what are you guys going to be selling? What kind of products?
It's an Internet of Things product for your home.
Okay, so your home product, a good strategy to come up with pins that are relevant to your product. A really good way to do this is you just go on Pinterest and you type out one thing, and then just like Google, there's suggested search terms that come up. and those are aggregated from popular searches. So a good way to do keyword research within Pinterest to see what people are already looking up, or I know for me, I use certain terminology, but not everybody uses that same terminology for the same thing. Like, let's say a scarf. I say a scarf all the time. I never call it a shawl, but a lot of people call them shawls. So for me, I sell a ton of monogrammed scarves in the fall and winter. So it was really important for me, especially on Pinterest, to start using the word shawl in my pins. Not all of them, but to kind of diversify. So a way to get really good keyword inspiration on Pinterest for both your boards and your pins, because you'll have to title your pins, is just through looking in the search bar and starting to type something out and see what other options come up as suggestions. So your board titles are important and your keyword pin titles are important. Moving into pins, of course you want to optimize your pins. So there are two ways to pin something. If you are on your site, you usually have the little pin it button in the bottom. You can pin directly that way. It will integrate it right into Pinterest. You can create the description and pick, usually it will give you, if you have a couple options of pictures, you can do it that way. Or you can directly go into Pinterest onto one of your boards and add a pin. And you can add pictures from your desktop. So this is the screen that will come up. It will give you a place to put in a URL to direct that pin to and a description. So as far as descriptions go, same deal. Keep it simple, keep it specific. And yeah, that's what's gonna help people find your pin, is through that description box. New update on Pinterest, they used to not have like hashtags be used. Like a lot of people used to use hashtags on Pinterest because you could use them on every other social media site, but they didn't work on Pinterest. It's a new addition that I just read about today. So, and it's from the Pinterest website. So that is going to also be in the resource thing that I give you, because now you can use hashtags, and I guess people can now search, like I think you can follow certain hashtags now on Pinterest. So maybe throwing in a hashtag or two in there might be useful. And so yeah, so that's how you create your own pins. Something that I can tell you is when I add a new product to my website, I try to create at least like 4 different visual images that all go back to that one item. So, you can create as many pins to go back to one location on your website, and you can do it with different images. And it's also a good way to test what people are visually attracted to and what will make them repin or visit your website. Just to give you very quickly, ideal pin sizes. So you can go and create pins on Canva. I don't know if any of you, if you use Canva, you can create, easy pins on those. You can put in your own dimensions. These 3 sizes are the most popular. I see a lot of the 600 by about 1200 pins, the long ones, a lot. You can fit a lot in there, and you can create really dynamic pins, which I'm going to show you on the next page. So yeah, but you can put any kind of image on there. These are just the ones that kind of perform the best. And I think the long ones perform the best just because they kind of take up the whole screen of your feed. Here are just some examples of pins. So these are all different. I looked up all different things today to like show you the diversity of how pins can be used. So the avocado toast one, this is obviously from somebody's food blog. So beautiful pin, very attractive. If you love avocado toast, it's gonna make you wanna click it. And very simple. Images of avocado toast with just a font across it. She has her website in there, wonderful. So she must be a blogger. Then the one in the middle is an infographic. So infographics perform really well on Pinterest. I've never used infographics, but I know for other people that I know with more like marketing businesses, they perform really well. And this was, I looked up, I didn't know if any of you had nonprofits, but this is, you know, a pin for email fundraising for nonprofits. So maybe that's a piece of content you have on your website, and they created a really dynamic pin to get more people to their website. This guy, the points guy, I don't know if you guys know who he is. Here's one of his pins. It was a promoted pin. So like I said, all these pins look the same. The only way you know it's promoted is if your eye just happens to go here and see that right underneath. So really, they are pretty organic looking, but he's a travel, like a points hacker guy. So right here, here's a pin that he has out that will, if you're really into like kind of like traveling, like you want to travel like a VIP using your points, you'll probably click on that. Here's one I looked up, yoga poses. So yoga teachers, wellness, meditation, there's so many pins and that you can put on Pinterest and make it visual. I know something like meditation doesn't seem like it could be really visual, but if you look it up if you go search on Pinterest after we're done, you'll see so many examples. So like a yoga teacher could totally create a very dynamic pin just like this one with different yoga poses and little tidbits of information that might make somebody click on it or save it. There were, when I looked up the yoga one, there were so many with quick yoga, easy yoga poses for beginners. And technically, like you could even create pins like that with stock photography if you could find it. So really dynamic. Here's a DIY pin that, you know, is, I guess it helps you make pacifier clips. So, you know, if you're the right person for that kind of pin, you might click on it. Even like something as random as body language. There's so many body language detecting pins when I searched. So really there is something for everyone out there. You can really utilize this to get traffic to your site. And then I just wanted to show you like the difference. So here's a longer pin of a cake topper, a monogrammed cake topper that was, you know, whoever created it put some work into it. They made the pin have a little bit of, you know, actual words on the pin. And then here's another cake topper that is just as dynamic and it doesn't have any pins. It's just a beautiful image, and maybe someone planning a wedding would be like, that's the cake topper I want. So they might click on it and it might lead to the website. So there are a lot of ways to do pins, and if you haven't done them yet, I would really just go get inspired, like look at what other people are doing. I always have secret boards of pins that really catch my eye that might not be relevant to what I do, but that what I can use as a form of inspiration. All right. Last thing about pins, and then we'll really get into how making all of this work together. Don't forget to name your images. If you're importing your pin in or the image in, also name the image. So instead of using the IMG, whatever numbers, million numbers, JPG, rename it. This is also searchable on Pinterest. It just helps boost you further up in the feed. If Pinterest believes that you're a high quality pin, and this and your titles and all of that stuff have something to do with it. I already told you hashtags are a thing. And then also something to be aware of is that there's something now called Pinterest Lens. And it's kind of scary, but it now can detect words and images on your visuals that you upload. So if you have a beautiful image, like I'll pull it up real quick, the cake topper with words, Pinterest Lens can read that now, which is so crazy. So it actually, which is good for us. So like, let's say that, you know, you sold these and you wanted to, this would be an extra way that you could be found through their through their searching system and through the lens. And then also if Pinterest could identify this as a cake, it would also pull that piece of information into the search. And Pinterest lens really, it helps you just become not verified is the right word, but it makes Pinterest aware that you're a quality pin if it can grab that extra information from your images. Okay, so I know that was like a lot of info at once. I am so happy to, we're gonna go into the next part, which is really how to make things start working for you, but I know that was a lot, so I just want you all to know I'm so happy. I can talk about this for like hours, so if anything at the end of this you want to email me with questions, like, go for it. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to send you in the resource guide will have all of these things explained a lot more. So, but yeah, if there's any questions, I know I just covered a lot, and we only have about an hour, and I wanted to leave some time for questions. So I'm just trying to cover a lot of stuff at once. I also hope you guys don't think I'm crazy.
You're doing a great job. Thank you. It makes sense.
Okay. Okay, so now here's where these are the things that really I think were super helpful and worth taking the time to do. So there's something on Pinterest called group boards. Just imagine all of us, and if you're interested, I can create a group board for us. But let's just imagine all of us are in a group board. What that would mean is that if I pin something to our group board, then not only would my followers see that pin, well, hopefully, I told you about the smart feed thing, but not only would my followers potentially see that pin, all of your followers would as well. So what group boards do is it amplifies the amount of people who could potentially see your pin. They could be incredibly powerful and can just give you exposure on it's like 10xing your exposure even more, depending on how many people are on a group board. So normally group boards are, so they're closed. So you have to be invited to a group board by the person who created it. And I'll show you how to figure out how to find them and all that stuff in a second. But I would say that, join group boards that are relevant to whatever it is you're trying to, promote. So back in the day, not really like 3 years ago, but when I first started my business, it was an Etsy store. So this was a group board that I joined a long time ago. And it was the only one I joined when I first found out about group boards, and I actually totally forgot about group boards until recently. And this one is called Handmade Products. So for me, it was really relevant because I had an Etsy business. And as you can see, so far, there are 25 something thousand pins on here. And if you look to the right of where it says Handmade Products, you can see there's about 1,500 people on this board. So that's a lot. So every time I pin to this board, the followers of 1,500 people have the potential to see it. So that's really insane. And a lot of the group boards you'll find do have that many people on it. So it is worth trying to get on a couple of them. I don't think, I think I might be on maybe 7 or 8 group boards. You don't need to go crazy, but I think it's definitely worth trying to join a few. So, okay, so I'll show you how to get them. So you go to pingroupie.com, and this is basically a website to search for group boards. And so this is just a picture of the site of their when you first go onto it. But you can look at categories, you can look at you can enter descriptions up here and try to find something. If you are let's say you're a nutritionist, you can look up, healthy food, vegan food, vegetarian food, whatever it is. The possibilities are, there's so many of them. So let's see. Chic gowns and dresses. All right, so this one, it's like about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, fifth one down. If you click, it will show you the description of the board. It's in a category, and it will show you the amount of pins, and it will show you the amount of collaborators. So this one has 8,724 collaborators. But then there's also followers of boards. So this board has 28,741 followers. That is insane. So if you do get into that, oh, I'm sorry, I think I was looking at the wrong one. Oh, this one has even more followers. If you get onto that board and you have a dress company, and you pin your dresses to that, the potential for your pin to be seen by people is wild. Like, that's amazing. There's a lot of potential there. So I hope that this is making sense. So the way that you join a group board is you would click on it. If you clicked on this, it would bring you to the board on Pinterest, okay? And then I'm not sure if you can read it if it's totally clear for you. Let me just delete this out of here. Here's the description of the board. So this one specifically gives you a description. It tells you the rules. A lot of them say no nudity, no spam, of course. And then to get invited, it says, to get invited, give me a personal message with board name, happy pinning. Okay, so this person is pretty easy. So I think, I think now you can't just send messages on Pinterest anymore if you guys don't follow each other. But what a lot of the group boards that I've joined will give an email address, and it will say, if you want to join this board, please email me at whatever. So I'll email the person, I'll send them, a link to my business and be like, I would love to join this board. And then they'll usually get back to you and be like, awesome, amazing. And then sometimes they'll be like, okay, you can join as long as you repin 5 of my pins. Okay, no problem. Like, that's fine. So, yeah. So, and then they'll send you an invitation to the group board, and then you're kind of good to go. So then you can just start pinning to it as like your other boards, and it will also show up in your regular boards category. So I hope the group boards thing makes sense. I would really say that it's worth it. The amount of repins that I get from stuff I pin on my group boards is pretty spectacular. Moving on. So Pinterest really rewards consistent activity, but who the hell has the time to be on Pinterest every single day, pinning, whatever. So we're going to talk about how to kind of automate that and make it a little bit easier on yourself. But the algorithm, apparently, it rewards pinning 20% of other people's content and 80% of your own. I think really what that means is that keep a balance. Don't just pin your own. You have to pin other people's content, and you have to pin other people's quality content. There is a website called repinned.net. I'll include it in the resource page. It allows you to look for the most pinned stuff on Pinterest, and then you get to repin it. And so like when you're repinning, those are really high quality pins. That's repinning other people's content, but really good content. So it could help boost you. And then of course you need to pin your own stuff too. But if you're only pinning 100% of your own stuff, it's gonna look like you might be a spammer, which Pinterest will not reward that. It used to be that Pinterest optimal times would be between 8 p.m. and midnight Eastern time, but that's a little bit different now, and there's mixed reviews on opinions on that because of the smart feed. The smart feed doesn't pin in real time anymore. Even if your content's getting through to your followers, it might not show up for a day or two. Sometimes I'll see stuff that a friend pinned like 2 days prior, and then it will show up. So it's a little different now. I would say the most important thing to remember is pin consistently and pin more than just your own stuff. So there's a way to do this because we are all very busy people, and Pinterest can be fun if you have some time to kill, but when you need to do it consistently every day, it can be a little overwhelming and just another thing to put on the to-do list. So there are schedulers. There's Tailwind, there's Board Booster, and there's later.com. I do not use Tailwind, but I believe Tailwind is an approved scheduler by Pinterest. Or I use Board Booster. I don't know if I don't think Board Booster is approved by Pinterest, which means that if you use it, it could be a risk if you use it. And Later is a scheduler. I don't use it for Pinterest, but I use it for Instagram. But Tailwind and Board Booster are more of a way to create a regular schedule, and I'm going to go into that in a second. So, so with Board Booster, here's some of the amazing things that it can do. So it can clear out your old pins and delete, ones that aren't really performing anymore. It can also has this feature called the looping, which what it does is it takes pins that that are at the bottom of your boards and repins them to the top. It's a really amazing feature, and it keeps your pins relevant and seemingly new, which is important to the algorithm. There is also a scheduler, and you can create campaigns in Board Booster. So what it does, the way that it works, is you'll create a secret board and you'll do kind of like batching is what it's called, is you'll either create a bunch of pins at once on the secret board or save a lot of pins at once on the secret board. And then whatever you set it to, Board Booster will take a pin from the secret board and repin it onto one of your real boards. So for example, like today, if I have an hour to create pins, I might spend an hour putting all those pins on that secret board, and those pins will be scheduled to be pinned onto my real boards for the next 2 weeks. So I don't have to really do anything. I don't know if I hope this is making sense. It's a little hard to explain, but it allows you to kind of batch all of your pinning at one time and then schedule Board Booster to pin on your behalf throughout the week, throughout the day, a couple times a day, keeping your account active and pinning kind of at all times with very little work on your part. And part of that is pinning to those group boards consistently, which helps create exposure. So for me, Board Booster works really well. I would say use it at your own risk. Also in the resource guide, I found a girl who did a comparison of Tailwind versus Board Booster. So you can find out kind of more about it. If any of you use Later for any of your other social media stuff, you can totally schedule pins through Later as well. To me, I like doing it the Board Booster way better. And also on Board Booster, there's something called tribes, which sounds weird, but so in the tribes, you kind of search through the tribes, find something relevant, let's say yoga. You can join a yoga tribe on there. And what it does is Board Booster, you add pins to the tribe account, and Board Booster uses its scheduler to kind of repin to, or use other users that are in that tribe, it repins to their boards. So it's like if we were all in a tribe together, Board Booster would maybe take some of Kirsten's pins and it would make it look like I pinned them. they would pin from my account. So then Kristen would get exposure from to my followers and vice versa. And it's kind of like it's basically cross promoting through users, but it's automated. But within each tribe, there are rules too, to make sure that like people aren't putting weird spammy pins on there and stuff. You have to be approved, and like everybody in the tribe needs to like approve you. It's kind of like, you know, that whole kind of thing, but it does work. So yeah, so those, I would say that scheduling through Board Booster is really helpful. I know people that use Tailwind, they like it for sure. I just can personally say I've never used it. And that is pretty much what I did, you guys. I cleaned everything up. I made sure everything was like super SEO friendly. I implemented group boards, and I implemented Board Booster. And that's kind of, I know it, I feel like I probably overwhelmed you, and I'm sorry. But those are all the things I did. It maybe took me, you know, I spent a couple hours on a couple days getting everything set up. But now that they are, all that I do is when I have new products go up on the site, or if new pictures get taken, or I have new images, I just add those in to the Board Booster, to the group boards. And that's pretty much it. Sometimes I'll go in and pin for fun, you know, like if I have time, but that's really never. And I wanted to mention one more thing about group boards, Board Booster. You know how I said you should be pinning about 20% of other people's pins? I have 2 or 3 secret boards for that. So I have a food board, I have a travel board, and I have a home decor board. And on my business Pinterest, I have those 3 corresponding boards as well. So I will pin a bunch of recipes, I will pin a bunch of home decor, and I'll pin a bunch of travel stuff onto those secret boards, and then schedule them through Board Booster to repin to my actual boards, so that I am actively pinning other people's stuff, but I'm just not doing it in real time. I'm using the same technique to pin my own stuff through Board Booster. So yeah, so that's it. This is my email address. I hope that you will, well, do whatever you want, but if you want the resource page, there's a lot on there. I put on just about everything I talked about. You can email me. And I will happily send it to you. And of course, if you have any questions, I will send it to you. And what I will also do is I will create I'm going to create a group board. It can be like a Dreamers Doers group board, but I won't call it that because that's not a really relevant title. But maybe like amazing things we love or something like that. And if you want an invitation to the group board, you can let me know. And then, yeah, we could, you know, just populate it with people that are part of Dreamers and Doers, and, you know, just kind of get pins spreading that way. It's pretty useful. And, you know, it can be all topics and all things can be on that board. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. So let's see, I don't know, like if anything, do you guys have like any questions? I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat. I was not seeing this while I was sharing my screen because it didn't show up. Yeah, I can definitely send you, I'm just looking. I can definitely send you a link to my Pinterest account, and you can look at all the boards I'm on and the group boards if you want. And then Sam, you said, how did you research what keywords to focus on? I basically, I just like, so I have a lot of monogrammed and personalized stuff. That's what I sell. So like, let's say like a bride wants like a monogrammed gift for her bridesmaids. I looked up bridesmaids and I saw what came after it in the Pinterest dropdown as like a suggested search. And like bridesmaids gifts came up. So I'm like, okay, that's a wonderful name for a board. So I have a board called Bridesmaids Gifts. I have a board actually called Wedding Bells that is like, I think because it has the name wedding in it, so much stuff from that board gets repinned. And yeah, I just kind of started with one thing, and I used the, actually, you know what? Let me see if I can share this with you. I'm gonna share Pinterest. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the Pinterest page up here. Let me just move this out of the way. Okay, so if I wanna look up bridesmaid. Okay, so I'm starting to type out bridesmaid, and then it's bridesmaid dresses, bridesmaid hair. These are very popular things people are looking for when they start typing in bridesmaid as well. So bridesmaid proposal is something that so many people that buy from me or that purchase something from my website, they're doing it as a bridesmaid proposal gift. But I don't have a bridesmaid proposal board. I don't have bridesmaid proposal content. Just because it's just something I haven't been able to do yet. But this is really good for me to know that that's something that's really popular, and I should probably have a board, have content, have pins that have bridesmaid proposal in it because it's such a popular search term. So that's a little bit how I, for Pinterest specifically, do keyword research. If we put in something like yoga for beginners is a huge one. Yoga poses, yoga inspiration, yoga quotes. Like if you have a website and you're a private yoga teacher, you might not think that, you should do anything on yoga quotes, but maybe you could create some Pinterest pins with like an amazing yoga quote with a beautiful picture that leads to a blog post on your website about mindfulness or whatever you have kind of written about, or whatever. I mean, the creativity can be endless with this. I think it always helps to kind of pay attention to what other people are doing, not copy them, but use it as inspiration to kind of do your own thing. And kind of, if we see that yoga poses is a really big search term, if you're a yoga teacher, probably wouldn't hurt to have a couple pins that focused on that keyword segment. And then what I also wanted to show you, which I didn't before, let's say you're like a branding expert or a branding strategist. So right here, see, as soon as I start to put in strategist, like here, these 3 women come up. They have their name or whatever they go by. They have either that line or a little kind of like separator, and they have digital branding strategist in there or branding strategist. So they're using their keyword, whatever they want to be found for, in their actual profile name, which is pretty smart. So I hope that makes sense. Do I use Pinterest ads? So Pinterest I have, and they've worked for me for sure. Right now, I don't like to spend money on advertising. That's not that I don't think it works. It totally does. I haven't really felt the need to use ads on a regular basis. I use them during certain times of year because I'm a gift company. So during gifty seasons, they've totally worked, and they're cheap. Like there are some ads that I've run that is a couple cents a click to your website. So you can play, that's the best thing. Something like Pinterest, you can play around with ads and maybe, and test stuff and spend $10 and test it, and it's like not a big deal. So yeah, and they're super easy to set up because you can do it from an existing pin. It will just ask you if you want to promote it, and then it will pull you into their ad. There's a whole, I'll show you. if you have a business account, there's a whole section on ads. I mean, look at this, reporting, traffic, so you can do different kinds of ads. I know that you girls that are starting an e-commerce brand, you wanted to create brand awareness. You can do awareness ads, engagement ads. They have lots of things there's a lot of stuff you can do here. And there are, luckily Pinterest is really good about education, and you can, they have a lot of information on how to set everything up. And also the engineers at Pinterest, this is like so nerdy, I don't even know why I know this. The engineering department at Pinterest publishes on Medium when they make changes. I've also included that in your resource sheet, because I think no better way to hear the news from like the source itself. So they sometimes will publish something on Medium to explain a change, and hearing it from them is really great, because then you can kind of be like, okay, this isn't just, this isn't a blogger or somebody's opinion, it's coming from the Pinterest. Okay, good question. So the question is, once you're on Pin Groupie, how do you determine who the group owner is? Okay, I'm gonna take you on Pinterest, so just hang with me for a second. So we're gonna go on to, hopefully you can all see my Pinterest screen. Okay, so I'm gonna take you to my profile, and we're gonna go to boards. Okay, so let's see. If it's a group board, here it is, here's one. I'm gonna try to find a different one for you. Okay, here is one that has a lot of stuff. So a group board, do you see this little circle here? It's split into, like, you can see there's 4 different user profiles. So these are my boards, Boho Bride. Those don't have that circle, which means I own those boards, they're mine. This is a group board, and it will show you there's about 1,000 people on this board, and the owner of the board is always the first one on this, on the closest to the title. So you can actually see this one. This was an Etsy girl, and here she asks to, if you'd like to join, just follow me on Pinterest. So usually people will ask you to follow them, and then send me your Pinterest link via Etsy, and I will send you an invite.